Good morning, Wabash. This week, speaking at chapel is Tyler Wade. Tyler Wade graduated from Wabash in 2012 and went on to earn his Master's of Science in Student Affairs and Higher Education at Miami University. He has worked in the admissions office since 2014, giving his talk titled 1367, Why You Should Live in a Moment, Laugh Often, Have Lunch with Interesting People, and Answer the Phone When Your Friends Call. Tyler Wade.
Good morning, Wabash. Good morning. I have to tell you, I really miss the view from up here. Being Sphinx Club president doesn't have many benefits, but you do get the best seat in the house for some really impressive talks. The challenge comes in trying to look alive when the speaker isn't that engaging. So, Biddle, I apologize in advance if my speech leaves you wanting more. If this thing flops, just pretend to be Chris Christie standing behind Donald Trump on Super Tuesday. It's going to be huge, okay? This I will promise you. In all seriousness, though, I believe this is the largest crowd to ever witness a chapel talk. There are at least 1.5 million or 2 million people lined up outside, and I'm told the line stretches all the way to West Lafayette. So thanks for coming out. I want to start by thanking the Sphinx Club for their invitation. Chapel is one of my favorite traditions. In fact, as an undergraduate, I only missed 2. Now, my record as an employee has not been as stellar, but I come when I can and should try to come more often. When I was looking at colleges, Wabash was literally the last place on my list. In fact, I only visited after my mom pestered me about it for months. Back in the day, we recruited students by saying, "It won't be easy, it will be worth it." To an 18-year-old who grew up across the street from DePaul, that wasn't exactly what I had in mind for my college experience. Nor did I see myself going to a small, private, liberal arts college for men in Crawfordsville. I'm guessing many of you felt the same way. Finally, my mom called the guidance office at the high school and told them I was going to visit Wabash on Friday. Then she ended up telling me. It was time for my visit. It was a crisp October Friday, and I remember it like it was yesterday. But at the time, it didn't really seem that important. Instead of focusing on my college search, I was more worried about the football game I was supposed to play that night, a sectional opener against the evil Warriors of Danville High School. 2 of the first people I met that day, Billy Powers and Brian Shelbourne, are now 2 of my best friends. Then they were just 2 basketball players from Cathedral. Then I could not see that I would be there when Shell bought burritos for everyone at Qdoba in West Lafayette after a night of revelry at the Cactus, or be there when he married his lovely wife, Katie. I didn't know then that Billy, his brother Bobby, and their friend Dave, the Notre Dame leprechaun, true story, would visit me in Italy, or that we would terrorize Florence by wandering around town, hitting on co-eds, and return that night covering our faces in shame. No, that day, Brian and Billy were just 2 faces in the crowd. I also had class with David Hadley, met Steve House, Mac Petty, Bill Plaker, and Dean Raiders, and I made a promise before I came here that if I got 10 retweets, I'd do an impression of Dean Raiders, so here goes. Now, guys, I need you to be leaders, okay? I need you to be gentlemen. You see, all of my memories that day are of the people I met, and it was meeting those people and seeing the pride they had in Wabash and the genuine excitement shown to me by each person on campus that softened my resistance to the idea of going here. In the decades since, the people of Wabash have shown repeatedly why it was not always easy, but it was and is definitely worth it to come here and be a part of this special place. I decided to make chapel a priority during the spring semester of my freshman year. I had just listened to Jim Amadon deliver a chapel talk titled The Wabash Swagger. It was a cold February day, and attendance that morning was low. The fall semester that year had been especially tough. We saw the death of a student, the closing of a fraternity, lost a giant in Bill Plaker, the economy collapsed, and DePaul throttled us in the Monon Bell game. Spirits were low on campus, and it seemed, even to a freshman, that Wabash was in a state of disarray. Jim's call that morning was to turn the page on the events of the fall and get our swagger back by remembering what makes Wabash special, the people and the deep relationship this place allows us to build. He shared stories of men who graduated wishing they spent more time meeting people outside their living units, gotten to know professors better, and invested in the life of the college by going to sporting events, plays, recitals, art exhibitions, and speakers. In listening to Jim's talk, I made a promise to myself that morning that I was going to do everything I could to maximize my time on campus and soak up as much of Wabash as possible, and I did just that. You do not have to live in Indiana long to know that January and February are often the longest months of the year. The sky is gray, the days are short, and it is always cold. We find ourselves reaching a time of the semester where things get tough. The joy of being back on campus has started to give way to the pressures of classroom life. Spring break is too far away to seem close, so we settle into a months-long grind. This fall was indeed another difficult time at Wabash. We saw the tragic deaths of two students, Luke Borenstein and Austin Wyrick. We lost a longtime benefactor, trustee, and loyal son in Bob Allen. A contentious national election devolved into nastiness on campus, and we again lost the bell to DePaul. Yet those macro events pale in comparison to the struggles many of us face as we speak. Some of you here today are dealing with anxiety and depression. Others are struggling with their sexuality or suffering through a bad relationship. Still others face addictions to alcohol, sex, drugs, or pornography. Some come from broken homes or feel abandoned by their families. You are worried about paying the next tuition bill or your next doctor's appointment or the 2 exams and 3 papers you have due next week. The struggles we face can be both conspicuous and hidden. They can be heard in the timbre of a friend's voice or fall silent on your pillow at night. But know this, you are never alone. There is always someone, somewhere, who is facing something similar, who will listen, challenge, and push you in ways you never imagined. But to find them, you have to decide you want to get better, be vulnerable in talking about your struggles, and get out of your rooms and meet people. In short, to get through the difficulty, you have to really lean into being a Wabash man. Now, many folks have asked me what's significant about 1,367. It is not, for the record, my SAT score when I came into Wabash. 1,367 is the number of days from freshman Saturday to commencement. 1,367 may seem like a big number, but ask the seniors and they can tell you it's not. The days they have left at Wabash is even shorter, and in fact, I counted, it's 108. The months, days, and years are fleeting indeed. So whether you have 108 days or 1,208 days, which is what's left of the freshman's term, I encourage you to make the most of each and every one of them. Legendary college basketball coach and beta, John Wooden, gave us this advice. Live as though you'll die tomorrow, learn as though you'll live forever. And while classroom learning is important, I would argue that few graduate from Wabash regretting they didn't spend an extra night studying for an exam or writing a paper. Rather, the regrets you have on commencement or when you leave this place are the chances you did not take, the people you did not meet, and the fun you did not have. So Wabash, it's time for us all to commit to making the most of the short time we have together. And to do that, I'm going to propose 4 simple rules. Live in the moment, laugh often, have lunch with interesting people, and always answer the phone when your friends call. Now look, there's a reason they don't appoint 27-year-olds to the Supreme Court. I still have a lot of living and learning to do, but I hope you don't let my age diminish the wisdom of what I'm about to say. The first way to make the most of your days is to live in the moment. In the book of Ecclesiastes, King Solomon tells us to enjoy your work and accept your lot in life. This is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life, they take no time to brood over the past. Life happens quickly. Look around you. There are people in this room that won't be here a year from now. Some will transfer to other schools. Some will graduate, and others will retire or take new positions. Sadly, some may even pass away. And again, it can happen in the blink of an eye. On the night of January 3rd, 2010, I received a call from a friend, Josh Linthicum. Josh and I were classmates and spent a lot of time together our first 3 semesters on campus. We took the same freshman tutorial, were in the same section of C&T, and studied together. Josh was a football player from Springfield, Ohio, which happens to be the home of Wittenberg University. I still maintain to this day that Josh's family is the only good thing to ever come out of Springfield. Josh was scheduled to have knee surgery the next morning, so we caught up and talked about how much he looked forward to being back at Wabash and recovering from his surgery. As we ended the call, I wished him good luck, and we promised to get together when we returned. The next morning, I got a call from another friend, Nick Kurash, who also happened to be Josh's roommate. Nick told me that Josh had died on the operating table earlier that day. Now, I don't share this story to scare you, but to remind you that each and every day is a blessing. You should take advantage of every opportunity you have to spend time with the people you care about, because there is no guarantee you'll be able to do that tomorrow. And if you only focus on what happens tomorrow, you won't get to enjoy today. Too often, we find ourselves waiting for the next thing, the next test, the next paper, the next job, the next relationship. And when those next arrive, they are seldom as good as we'd hoped they'd be. Don't worry about tomorrow. Instead, focus on making the most of today. This day has never happened before, and it will never happen again. Each morning when I wake up, I pray that God will grant me the wisdom, strength, and courage to say and do the things He wants me to. Now, whether you're a person of faith or not, I encourage you to be more intentional in how you spend each day and do all you can to make them count. The second way to make the most of your days is to laugh often. In his famous ESPY speech, legendary NC State basketball coach Jim Valvano said he tried to do 3 things every day: think, laugh, and cry. To Valvano, who was suffering from terminal cancer, thinking, laughing, and crying were the substance that makes life worth living. I can say with certainty that Valvano was right. My friends know that I'm often thinking, laughing, and crying. Sometimes I do all 3 at once. Moreover, they also know I laugh a lot, and when I laugh, it's loud, like obnoxiously loud. But I laugh because it makes me feel good, and because, as my friend and colleague Heidi Carl likes to say, laughter is like jogging for your insides. It's important to keep perspective in life. Life is seldom ever as good or as bad as it seems. It simply is what it is. Each of us has to make the most of the hand we've been dealt and do what we can to get through. You've made it through 100% of the bad days you've had, so you shouldn't doubt you can do it again. Laughter releases dopamine and endorphins, nature's chemicals that help us feel good, find hope, and creativity. In a sense, laughter can help us build resilience to face tough times. Mark Twain once observed that against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand. Laughter can break down barriers and help us realize we have more in common with each other than we think. English poet W.H. Auden wrote, "Amongst people I like or admire, I can find no common denominator. But among those whom I love, I can. All of them make me laugh." The next time you find yourself feeling down, smile. I guarantee you will instantly feel better. And if you don't find yourself laughing often enough, surround yourself with funnier people, or at least funny-looking people like me. The third way to make the most of your days is to have lunch with interesting people. One of my favorite people is Dave Hodges. Many of you know Dave. He's the father to Austin and Houston, wife to Annette, a successful businessman, Wabash superfan, and all-around good guy. I like Dave because Dave gets it. He's worked hard to have what he does. He loves his wife and his sons, treats people with respect, and is always taking time to invest in other people. One day when I was traveling in Plymouth, Indiana, I asked Dave if he wanted to grab lunch. He accepted, and what followed was a nearly 2-hour conversation about life, Wabash, love, family, business, commitment, goals, dreams, hopes, and fears. During that lunch, Dave said something that stuck with me. Always make time for lunch with interesting people. I never pass up the chance to have lunch or coffee with someone because I always leave those gatherings learning something new, both about the other person and myself. And it doesn't take any extra time out of your day. All of us need to eat, and most of us need coffee. So instead of wasting that time, spend it meeting someone and hearing their story. You never know where those relationships might lead. An important fact in life is this, and if there's one thing you take away today, let it be this. People do business with those they know and like. Here's an example. 3 recent graduates have really good things going. J.J. Peller lives in Valparaiso, Matt Page lives in Terre-Dice, also known as Terre Haute, and Grant Kumbara is in Texas. But every Wednesday, the 3 of them get together via Skype to talk about life and their goals, dreams, and ideas. If you don't know them, you should. All 3 are movers and shakers, and together I am confident they will do awesome things in life. Keith Ferrazzi, an author and networking expert, in fact wrote an entire book about having lunch called Never Eat Alone and Other Secrets to Success, One Relationship at a Time. In his book, Ferrazzi argues whether or wherever you are in life and whatever you know is a result of the ideas, experiences, and people you have interacted with. But you can only reap the benefits of those interactions by getting out of your rooms and investing in others. The biggest difference between grade school and college is the length of the time devoted to learning. In grade school, you're mostly there from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. In college, you can learn something 24/7, so be sure to surround yourself with people who are going to help you be better. There's an old adage that says you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so be sure you choose those people wisely and devote yourself completely to forging those relationships, discuss big ideas, encourage each other, criticize each other, and create together. As a student, every day at 10 o'clock, I would have coffee in the Scarlet Inn and sit at the round table with some Wabash legends, men like Vic Powell, Joe O'Rourke, David Phillips, John Zimmerman, Robin Pebworth, David Meharry, and Tom Bambry. And I would listen to their stories about Wabash, life, their arguments about politics, religion, and memories of students and colleagues of yesterday. I can honestly say that I learned more during those coffee hours than I did in my distribution classes, because they taught me the importance of place and giving back and intellectual curiosity and what it means to grow old and to lose people you love and care about. Again, the days are fleeting, so take advantage of the people that are around you while you can, not in a self-serving way, but in a way that can make you both better. Because, after all, someone in this room could one day be your doctor, lawyer, boss, colleague, brother-in-law, husband, or best man. And people do business with those they know and like. So once we leave today, I challenge you to ask someone interesting to lunch this week. Heck, you can ask me. Now, I'm not sure that I'm interesting, but maybe the other people will be. And know this, I'm always going to buy. Finally, another way to make the most of each day is always answering the phone when your friends call. Life is fundamentally about relationships, and Wabash is a place that allows us to build extremely deep and meaningful relationships in a relatively short period of time. But even at a place that fosters those deep relationships, sometimes our friends struggle and we don't even know it. I suffer from dysthymia, also known as chronic depression. And if you didn't know me very well, you probably don't know that or wouldn't have guessed it, because I do a pretty good job of putting on a happy face. But behind happy faces, you can often find hidden struggles. For me, depression manifests itself in a lack of self-esteem, which then causes me to be depressed and then anxious that I can't seem to get out of the cycle. Now, I've been very blessed in my life. I have a great job, a loving family, a house, a car, plenty of food, and lots of relationships. But sometimes that stuff doesn't seem to matter, and I get lost in my thoughts, doubts, fears, and failures. Many of you know what that can feel like. In fact, I heard a statistic recently that as many as 25% of young people have a mental health issue each year. Young men are less likely than women to attempt suicide, but are more likely to be successful in their attempts. And sometimes, in the throes of major depression, it can feel like there is nothing you can do to stop feeling the way you do, and maybe question whether life is worth living. Now, because of my formal training in graduate school, intellectually, I know what's going on and what I need to do to get better, but mentally and emotionally, it can be hard to make that happen. When this first started, I didn't think it was possible for anyone to be going through something similar. I doubted that people could understand and worried that I would be judged for seeking help. So I kept putting off doing anything and hoped that things would get better on their own. Here's a surprise, they don't. As things worsened, I only confided in one person, which began to strain that relationship and left me feeling like no one cared. Finally, I started counseling, went on medication, and began to feel more comfortable talking about my struggle. And I was shocked to find out how many people I know face the same thing. I also found that many people were upset I hadn't reached out to them sooner. The truth is, I didn't reach out because I felt so low I did not think anyone could truly care about me. And it was only after the worst of it had passed that I realized how many people actually did care. Therefore, I beg you, always answer the phone when your friends call, because you never know what they may need. And if you're dealing with depression, anxiety, addiction, whatever, know that today is the perfect day to get help. Tell somebody, go to the counseling center. There is no better time to do that than now. You can even take things a step further and be the person who calls someone for no reason, just to say hello, catch up, and let them know you love and care about them. It will likely mean more than you could ever know. The days are fleeting, Wabash. Each day we get to be here with these people is a blessing. We can make each day a day of gain or a day of loss. You never stay the same. In his book, Wabash on My Mind, President Byron Trippett reflected on what would happen if colleges like Wabash ceased to exist. Trippett argued that small liberal arts colleges are especially good at two things. One, cultivating an understanding and appreciation of the past, an intellectual basis for interpreting the present, and some vision of the ends and means for enjoying and improving the quality of human life. And 2, stimulating habits of voluntary personal action in the public interest. If we are to claim to embody those values today, it is imperative that we continue to cultivate the environment in which those ideals take shape. Author and researcher Brené Brown writes in her book, Rising Strong, quote, "Integrity is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what is fun, fast, or easy, and choosing to practice our values rather than simply professing them. If we want to be a place that transforms men's life and encourages them to think critically, act responsibly, lead effectively, and live humanely, we have to make the most of each day, take time to build relationships, invest in each other, and give back. So today, I ask you to join me in helping to make Wabash fun again. And after we leave here, let's continue this conversation. As I said before, I don't have all the answers, but I would love the opportunity to sit down with you and talk about new and exciting ways to build relationships and invest in people. In fact, you can even follow me on Twitter at @TheRealTWade, where I try and tweet inspirational quotes or my musing about the Cubs being well, or get mad about watching IU basketball and complain about Donald Trump, sometimes all in the span of 5 minutes. Today, I also encourage you to take a few minutes to reflect on how you're going to spend your day. Don't worry about tomorrow, but focus on getting the most out of the present. Today, smile and watch a funny video, tell a joke or funny story, and take comfort in the knowing laughter that can come from sharing an inside joke with someone you love. Today, make plans to have lunch or dinner with someone you haven't eaten with before. And in fact, to make good on that, I'll buy lunch for the first 3 guys that come up to me after I finish. Today, take 10 to 15 minutes to call someone you haven't talked to in a while and then catch up and see how their life is going. Today, if you're struggling, commit to telling someone about it. Today, make plans to go to the next basketball game, art exhibit, music recital, play, club meeting, whatever. Be spontaneous. Wabash, I promise you can start to make every day count. You can make Wabash fun again if you commit yourself to building relationships and investing in other people. All you have to do is live in the moment, laugh often, have lunch with interesting people, and answer the phone when your friends call. Thank you. May God bless you, keep you safe, and kindle a fire that causes you to thirst for better, deeper, and stronger relationships. And may He help you make the most of each and every day. Thank you.